Hello, everyone. Johnny Disc Golf back with another interview, but this time I am joined by the 2021 World Champion, Mr. James Conrad. How are we doing, buddy?
Doing great. Thanks for reaching out, Corey. Always a pleasure to talk with you.
Yeah, man, feelings mutual. Honestly, gosh, we've it's been a long journey for me on the road, but I really do associate you with one of the people that like reached out in the early days and made like tour life comfortable and made it feel like a slight home. So, just upfront, thanks for that, and I'm stoked that we get to talk over the off season now.
Yeah, man.
So I mentioned it. It is the off season. Question number one, though, for and no pun intended, a nomad like you, where is the off season? Are you just like wandering in a bus somewhere across America? Where are you?
um, Over the years, yeah, there hasn't been like a consistent off-season plan, but this year we're kind of settling a little bit down in Charlotte area. So that's been a lot of fun so far to be able to kind of feel like setting up a little bit more of a home base, like actually staying in a house. It's been like last winter we rented for about 2 months down in Austin, and we had a little cottage kind of thing down there. But yeah, it's been fun this last month or so, just kind of getting settled into a house here in Charlotte. We're just renting for now, but we're super close to Hornets Nest, so I'm able to get out and play some good disc golf on some pretty regular basis, and yeah, enjoying it.
Yeah, Charlotte's got to have, I don't know, man, relative to the places you could be in the off season, like golf slash weather, Charlotte might be like number one. Is that your take as well? I know you've spent off season other places too.
Yeah, we'll see what like January is like, but so far the weather's been really mild. We've had some cold and rainy days, but we've had a ton of days in like the 50s and 60s, which is kind of like dream weather for me in the winter, for
Yeah.
especially for playing disc golf.
And so I heard that you're actually staying with a friend of the program, someone the people at home might know. Who are you staying with?
Yeah, Brian Earhart and Lindsay Rodans bought a house here in Charlotte. They ended up buying kind of a bigger house than they needed, and so Jordan and I are renting from them for the time being. Help them out with some of those early mortgage payments and give us a sweet sweet place to live, and yeah, to something that was like pretty affordable for us, and being able to help out friends with their mortgage is kind of a win-win. And they're good friends of mine and Jordan's, so getting to hang with them this off season has been a lot of fun already.
Yeah, that helps. Like, man, I know the routine with roommates here in San Francisco just kind of goes with life here in San Francisco. But having roommates who are friends, it's probably a blast. How's the driveway? What's the size? Do we have that massive bus parked just outside? What are you doing with that in the off season?
The driveway is pretty sloped and not too huge. There's like a spot in front of the house where we had it for a week or two, but I think we started getting a couple complaints from some neighbors, and someone from the city code ordinance came to talk to me about it. They thought someone was like living in there, which we weren't, so it wasn't like a huge problem. But I put it in like a kind of like a truck parking
Mm.
storage lot for. I was able to find a spot just down the road, so we can still go get to it easily, but it's not just like blocking off the street in front of the house the whole winter.
No, good point. I like HOAs. Somebody was going to have something to say about a massive like home bus parked outside your
Right.
house. That's good though that you're you got your feet down. It's it can feel like training, or like a lot of players feel like they have to work to make up ground to catch some of the best players in the world, but a lot of people, it's about rest and relaxation and maybe enjoying some time where you don't have to travel every week. One of the things I know you and a good majority of the pro tour like to do after the season is hit up Halloween. I wouldn't be an off-season interview with you if I didn't ask you about the festival. How was it? What was the vibes out there? Was it still like just as great as it always is?
Yeah, we had such a good time out there. We had a pretty huge crew show up again. I think we were like pushing close to 30 people from like tour and friends of tour and stuff like that. And so
That's awesome.
yeah, it was big enough that we were able to kind of have like a couple little pods, but all in like one big campsite. And anytime you wanted to go in and catch a show, you could like get someone to rally with you. You know, you didn't have to like
Hmm.
feel like you were tied to another person's schedule exactly. So you could kind of were able to, yeah, really have a good time. And I felt pretty lucky that they were even able to throw the festival. That park got hit pretty hard by a hurricane, like less than
Oh,
a month before the festival, and I know that there was tons of people out there just working day and night trying to get it ready. And I think because of that, it might have been like the dustiest time I've
oh.
ever had at Halloween. That was one of the only drawbacks, but
Mm-hmm.
we had perfect weather, great swimming every day in the river, and tons of great music. And yeah, it's always fun seeing like just random disc golf fans out there just kind of being like, wait a second, was that James Conrad? Was that Paige Pierce? Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
And that's always fun. But yeah, and then I was a little worried at that time when I saw that the Champions Cup was scheduled for like Halloween. I was like, oh no, we're not going to be able to go
Yep.
to Hula next year. So that was one thing I was stoked about when I saw the reschedule.
Yeah, I think a lot of people were talking about like, oh man, the major seasons all stacked up at the end. Like, it doesn't really make sense schedule wise. I don't want to add another 2 weeks, but I know in their hearts the majority of the field was like, that's Halloween weekend. You can't do us like that. But that's
Priorities,
good.
right?
No, 100. Hey, disc golfers are just gonna disc golfer, right? It's just
Hmm.
how it is. But did your parents join you? I know, like in years past, your parents came down there and it was like a family affair. Was that still the same situation this year?
My family came down to Swanee this spring. We actually met them at
Okay.
a little Bluegrass Festival down at Swanee, and they haven't come to the big Halloween
Okay,
festival,
gotcha.
but yeah, they definitely like live music. They go to Floyd Fest every year. That's like the closest festival to their house, and um, yeah,
Man,
they love camping and all that. So it's
yeah, it
awesome.
makes sense. They're good people. It's
Hmm.
man, I would love to end up at a festival with all you guys. It'd be super fun. But we had a festival. This is now we're derailing a little bit, but we had a festival after the season was over, and it's the weekend before USDGC after my season was over, but the weekend before USDGC. So I've never been able to go over the last like 5 or 7 years. A huge free bluegrass festival in Golden Gate. It's like my favorite week in San Francisco. So I was finally able to enjoy a festival of my own. It felt really good to put the feet up a little bit and just enjoy it. But
Cool.
uh,
What's that one called?
it's called Hardly Strictly Bluegrass. It's
Hardly
like
Strictly.
yeah, it's like legitimately free for everyone, and it's like a real deal festival. I can walk to it from my house in Golden Gate Park. It's really nice. We saw Shaky Graves was there. We saw Kurt
Oh,
Vile. He
sweet.
closed it out. It was
Cool.
super good time. Yeah, um,
That's awesome.
man, just reminiscing. Yeah, great times. But uh, back to the reason for the season. Talking to you a little bit over the off season. Another thing I've noticed that has changed a little bit or isn't necessarily how you generally roll is you've been posting to Instagram and social media a little bit more over the off season. Could you talk about that? Maybe is that like intentional? Did you go into the off season trying to do that? And maybe who's helping you out with that a little bit?
Um, let's see. I wouldn't say it was like necessarily like a major goal. Like, oh, this winter I'm really going to get on it, but it's kind of perpetually like on the back of my mind that like, yeah, I could be putting myself out there more. I could be sharing more of my life with the people that are really interested in what I'm doing, and it can be definitely a challenge for me. But Jordan's been helping me out a lot with that. She's um, obviously seen a lot of what I'm doing, and I feel like she's got a better eye for photography and things like that than I do. So
Hmm.
yeah, she's helped me out some in the past, but I feel like this the kind of stuff that we've been posting the last month or so is a little easier for her than like trying to make a disc golf post like, oh yeah, this is how I did this week,
Yeah.
and those always feel really stale to me. Not that interesting, like kind of cookie cutter post. And I do want to share disc golf stuff as well, but I feel like it's a little easier to be like, yeah, here's this woodworking project I'm playing with or anything like that.
No, I totally agree. And honestly, I think that it like I mean, you could be like I see like 885 rated players giving those tournament recap posts. So like, I totally empathize with what you're saying. Can feel a little stale. It can feel a little like contractually obligated. But I have been really appreciating those posts. You said they're like a little more personal. It shows what you're doing in your off time. I think a lot of players don't generally get to see that, specifically with
Hmm.
you. You're doing your thing, and you're enjoying it, but you're not really going about telling everybody about it. So
Hmm.
My question to you though, what are those projects? I see you posting about doing woodworking and all sorts of other, honestly, like cool, I'm sure, really awesome projects. But what are they? What have you been building? What's on the queue?
Yeah, right now Lindsay and I are working on like a console table. She's got a record player and a little record collection. They ordered like a really nice couch for the living room. That actually just came in this morning, so we're all super stoked about that
Nice.
upgrade from the IKEA one that we were on. But yeah, we're making it out of like cherry with a little bit of walnut. And we're getting really close to the glue up phase of it. So we've got all the pieces kind of cut, and we're pretty stoked on how that's going. The first project I made is actually right here. I'm not sure if you can see. It's like a
You
little,
made that end table?
yeah. So Jordan had like a,
Oh
she
my
had like
god.
a old sewing machine base. It's Singer brand. It's like
Mm-hmm.
this like cast iron stand that she didn't have a sewing machine on or anything, and she wanted to incorporate that. So I just kind of made a tabletop and a drawer, like drop down drawer from it, and I was happy with it because I've
Yeah.
done some like projects before, but usually like utility focused rather than like trying to like work on like actually the craftsmanship of it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like a little bit of a puzzle. Like it's really engaging for my mind, and then I feel like I do like activities where like you have to like maintain like a really good sense of presence. Like you have to be in the moment and like really focus on what you're doing.
Yeah.
Obviously, I don't want to like cut my hands off or anything.
Yeah.
So I gotta be very careful. Got to be very deliberate with what I'm doing, and like have an objective and work towards it. And I like those kind of activities. So I feel like that's been pretty fulfilling for me this last month or so.
Yeah. I mean, I'll say as you are saying that, I am can't help but picture like a finger incident or something. Is this like an activity you have to like let MVP know about? Is it like a professional baseball player riding dirt bikes or something where there's like a clause like James, you're not doing any woodworking. We love your hands, man.
um, I don't know if it quite was like that, but I did splurge on a saw stop table saw for that
Ooh,
reason, which is
yeah.
like they're quite expensive, but they have like a safety technology built in where there's an electrical current running through the blade. So if it touches a conductive material, it like immediately stops, like zero point 0.5 milliseconds or something crazy.
Mm-hmm.
They have a
That's
lot of
great.
videos you might have seen with like a hot dog. They'll push a hot dog into it and it barely even nicks it. So
Okay.
I made sure to splurge on one of those. Like that's where I'm doing most of my cuts, and
Yeah.
I don't plan to trigger the saw stop break, but um,
Yeah. If you have
accidents
to
can
though.
happen to anyone, and so I'm not really sparing an expense on that. But these are pretty important to me.
Yeah, the money makers right here. Well, MVP
Yeah.
Andrew can sleep at night now, knowing that your fingies are going to be all good.
Hmm.
Um, Next, kind of, you're doing all these projects largely for the home. You've got an end table. You're building that record player. One of your biggest projects last year, though, was the gigantic bus that you didn't like do all the conversion yourself, but it was a pretty massive undertaking. Just finding the bus, finding the group to do the work on the bus, and then once that gets done, kind of modifying and making it feel your own. It was a pretty massive undertaking. Are you 6 months out? How do you feel about the bus? Is it everything you ever wanted? Is there pros? Is there cons? Like, give me, you've had some time to digest. What are the review?
Yeah, yeah, I loved the bus. I think it turned out awesome, and it feels so much more like a actual like home when we're out there on the road. There's obviously some everything like travel life.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is like pros and cons. You know, like you're gaining something, but you're losing something. And about halfway through the season, I feel like I was getting pretty tired of like driving the bus to the grocery store and things like that. And so we picked up a little Jeep, like it
Mm-hmm.
was like a 1994 Jeep Wrangler. Um, found it on Facebook Marketplace for pretty cheap, and it's a little standard transmission, just kind
Mm-hmm.
of go anywhere Jeep. So adding that to the bus setup, I feel like made it like ideal. Then we were able just to like post up either at the course or at a campsite for the week, and not deal with the like, okay, is everything put away, or like all that, and not deal with like trying to find parking for the bus, and not deal with like bumpy parking lots where I feel like our cabinets are going to break, and all those kind of things. So yeah, the biggest drawback to the bus I feel like was pretty well um, compensated for by having a little secondary vehicle.
Yeah, I mean, not to mention like just the aesthetic of like James Conrad pulling through in like a nice little drop back red Jeep is like the whole thing is on brand, man, and I really did love seeing it down the stretch. So you're liking the Jeep though? I'm guessing the Jeep is
Hmm.
like what you're kind of day to day driving down here in Charlotte.
Yeah, we have the van down here too.
Okay.
So when we had the bus here, we were joking we got the whole fleet out here. We're taking over, but yeah, the van is nice because you can load it full of whatever, like kind of like a big sheet of plywood just fits right in there or anything like that. And
Hmm.
then yeah, I usually drive the Jeep. I feel like Jordan drives the van a little bit more. She just kind of likes it just like big and a
Yeah.
little more. It's a much newer vehicle. It's like a 2018 versus
Yeah.
1994. So like
Yeah.
the comfort levels are probably a little higher in the van, but I just like the actual like feels like you're driving a machine in the Jeep. It's kind of like clunky and bouncy and stuff, but it's fun
Yeah,
to
it
me.
feels like you're in control, right? I mean, you're
Mhm.
operating a machine, like you said.
Mhm.
Um, so you've got the bus, you've got the Jeep behind it. You mentioned that the van is still in your possession. First of all, it's insane. You're like a three-car household now. Um,
Three
but
cars, no houses. No.
yeah, actually, you're right. Yeah, three.
we're
Good
we're in a
point.
house now, but that
Yeah,
was
it's
always
like
funny to me.
a tow. You're gonna have a tow train eventually. You know what I mean? You're gonna be your own traffic block. Um, but I know like your parents were driving the van for a while, but then like Perkins had some van issues and he took over your van. Uh, you know,
Mhm.
I'm sure the public will have noticed he started to grow his hair out a little longer, maybe some facial hair. Are we going to have two James Conrads? Like, how soon until Nate Perkins has fully assimilated into James Conrad the fourth? Oh man,
Oh
I'm
man.
kidding. I'm kidding. Nate, he's a good guy, but anyway, it is crazy. He's slowly drifting towards Conradism.
Mhm.
Um, so 2023, we got the bus, or you got the bus. It was a adventurous year. Really, there was a lot of like off the course things to accomplish. Figuring out where you're going to stay in the off season, getting the bus, getting that dialed in, the travel
Mhm.
logistics, and I think if you look at your finishes throughout the year, we'll both agree it probably wasn't the season that you were hoping for. Just number wise,
Right.
you you had your highest rating of your career in the midpoint of 2022, and it's down a few points now. So, you know, we're looking to build for next year. But how was last year? What kind of happened? Why did we see maybe a downtick in your play? And where are we going now?
Yeah, I've definitely been trying to reflect on that. It felt like um, definitely felt like I probably didn't have as much focus directly on the competition as I have in the past and as I could have. And I feel like it was kind of a mixed bag of reasons. Like, um, yeah, I feel like between Jordan and I, like this was her fourth year on the road, and
Mm,
she's definitely kind of. It's hard to be, like kind of on someone else's schedule like that. Like, and for me, it's like important to make time for her to have her space and to do her thing while we're on the road. But some of those like conflicts can just I feel like take a little bit of my focus away. And we've been talking about next year, like her still traveling to some of the events, but possibly like holding down the fort here in Charlotte for a little bit more throughout the next season and establishing a little bit more of her routine. And I think that could be good for both of us. Like it could give me a little more space to just spend on the course, a little bit more kind of undivided attention,
mm-hmm.
towards the game, which is important. The competition's gotten so stiff that you can't really just like go out there and waltz your way into like the cash line anymore. Like it felt like there was a lot of years where I had to do something pretty bad to miss cash, honestly. And then this year it was like I don't even know, probably five or more times that I might
Mm-hmm.
have missed cash. And it didn't feel like I forgot how to play disc golf or anything like that, but just like a little lapse of focus here or there, a little bit of frustration that kind of thing could just like pile up really quick, and you might only be, like 10 strokes off fifth place, but you're in like 70th place. Like sometimes the fields were just stacked super tight,
Mm-hmm.
and it was pretty wild.
Yeah, I was kind of like thumbing through your PDGA results and looking at the last year or two and trying to tie in some correlation and stuff. I'm like, okay, let me just see how he did on like the particularly wooded courses. And I'm like
Hmm.
flicking. I'm like, okay, there's two of them maybe. Like there's no wooded tournaments anymore. It's like,
Right.
do you feel like maybe a shift towards a? I didn't crunch the numbers, but there was a
Hmm.
significant shift towards ball golf courses over the last couple years. Even thinking like Austin and Portland and a lot of these tournaments where there's wooded or more wooded areas nearby, but we're playing on ball golf courses. Do you think that played into effect at all, or is that something that you're just not looking to even entertain really?
I think I think yes and no. Like you used Austin as an example, and I feel like that one was like tough for me mentally, because like I wintered in Austin, and like Roy G is one of my favorite courses around, like in the
Mm-hmm.
States, and it's like we're like 10 miles from Roy G, and we're playing on this golf course right now.
Yeah.
Like what is going on? Like why? Like there's like a world class, awesome like wooded but open course right over there. Instead, we just threw a course on a big golf course hill and called it a tournament. But I feel like that kind of thing kind of gets to me a bit. I really try not to put too much energy into like thinking about that or worrying about that. Just trying to show up each week and make the best game plan I can and execute to the best of my abilities. But
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I, I definitely feel like competent on open courses. I feel like I can get it done there just pretty much just as well as in the woods. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel like that's a great excuse for my play. I think, yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And really, there is no like at the end of the day, we can talk ourselves in circles and make up reasons why things were a certain way. But yeah,
Hmm.
I mean, there's no real answer. No one definitive answer with all of this stuff. But I think the conversation's valid, so I appreciate you taking the time to consider.
Yeah.
Um, so I want to talk a little bit about the major Champions Cup. It was at one of all of our favorite, one of all of our favorite courses, W.R. Jackson. It's now shifted towards Northwood Black, and Ledgestone is now all at Eureka. I know in years past we've specifically had conversations about how Lake Eureka can get on our nerves, or any number of complaints that one might have about it. But now we're going to play an entire tournament at Northwoods Black, which is, I mean, I can already feel the shadows and the late nights creeping in just standing here in San Francisco. But what's your take? Do you feel like, when I think that, I think back 2019 Worlds, and you like, I mean, it was Northwoods Gold at that point, but like that's some of the best golf I've ever seen you play was down at that course in the mix to win a world championship. How are you feeling with that change? Do you like it? It's going to be probably a little bit different vegetation that time of the year, but
Hmm.
how do you feel like 4 rounds Northwood Black is going to treat us for a first major next year?
I think that's gonna be. I think that's gonna be pretty cool. I think it's gonna be a grind. Like that Northwood Black is pretty wicked hard, and yeah, it's. I think it'll be definitely a test for everyone that plays it. I'm excited for it. I think it'll
Yeah.
be a like I like a good challenge, and I think that's exactly what that will be. I'm hoping we have some nice weather because we've dealt with some pretty bad storms there and stuff like that, and
Hmm.
trying to navigate that course in the mud and the rain is like a whole nother level. So I think that if we have some good weather, and then I'm stoked to play it for 4 rounds straight. Definitely more excited for that than for the Lake Eureka Ledgestone.
Yeah, yeah, man. This is that of course is a long history of irritating very good golfers. So we'll see how 4 rounds of. I mean, that's how it used to be. I filmed,
Hmm.
AJ Risley almost win that tournament. About 9 holes to go before had a little bit of a slip up, but 4 rounds at Eureka. It's not unheard of, but man, it's gonna feel a little dull. I think by round 3 or 4. Um, One last thing on last season, real quick, before I kind of catch up and we can get you out of here a little bit. But Something that I think that the people don't know, or a lot of people don't know, is you are the very first rookie of the year for the Disc Golf Pro Tour. Back in 2016, its inaugural season up in Vermont, right outside Brewster Ridge, they did the ceremony. You got a Rookie of the Year, which felt I don't know. I mean, it was just a strange. The whole awards season was a little strange then. Like everybody was rookies, so it was a little weird.
Right.
And every year since that, they've iterated, they've tried to make slight changes and tweak them to make it make more sense. You had the Juliana Korver winning Rookie of the Year. They changed that, made it Comeback Player of the Year. Now Proctor won that when it kind of feels like he was more of a rookie. How do
Right.
you feel about the awards in general? Is that something that you pay attention to? Is that something that like you think is a little wonky? How do you feel about them in general?
Um, I think that one specifically is kind of weird, just because there's not like a cut and dry like definition, like you said, of like, oh, are they like a rookie, like it's their first year with a tour card, or is it like a rookie like
Yeah,
first year really playing open? Like that's what my mind thinks of as rookie, like the more like the PDGA
yeah.
rookie of the year. It makes a little more sense to me. But as far as like the disc golf DGPT Player of the Year, I feel like those awards are pretty awesome, and it was definitely interesting to see like the discussion people were having this year about like Calvin versus Isaac. I, I, yeah, it's hard for me to like not to take anything away from Isaac, but I think they made the right choice with Calvin. Like I think
Mm,
just the consistency throughout the entire season is just so amazing, especially with just how stiff the competition is this year, and for him to have been able to just week in and week out just be the guy to beat pretty much. It was pretty unbelievable, and I think carried a little more weight than two majors within a season.
yeah. And so let me ask you this. Most of the people I've talked to about this haven't won Worlds, and they haven't won USDGC, and they haven't won other majors. You have. You're a I want to say two-time major. It's just
Hmm.
Worlds and USDGC. Does that weigh into the fact that, like, I talked to Kale, and he's like, I would have happily traded all the success Calvin had for those two majors, but that's somebody who doesn't have those major victories. Do you think that plays into your perspective on that, or, um, you know, yay or nay, I
Um,
guess?
I feel like yeah, it has to play into my perspective somewhat, even if it's not like consciously. But I think yeah, it'd be hard for me to it'd be hard for me to pick like which season I would rather have had myself. Like in some
Hmm.
ways, maybe Isaac's, but that doesn't necessarily mean that he had the better year to me. Like I don't know, it's weird to me. Like
Yeah. It's a tough
I
one,
think that
really.
yeah, like I think that Calvin played better for the year, so I think he was the player of the year in my
Yeah.
mind. But I think that Isaac's two wins are going to be much more memorable long term than any of Calvin's this year. So I can see both sides of that for sure.
100%. And I appreciate the perspective, really. I've really had a good time like asking everybody because everybody has a slightly different take and a slightly different perspective too, which I've enjoyed hearing.
Hmm.
Um, so 2023, slight downtick in the career, but overall still very successful. One of the top players in the world, no question. They're going to be locked in for another 2024 season. What
Oh
are
yeah.
your goals? Do you have goals? Do I remember slight derailment, but you won that world championship, and in your speech, you didn't say like, "Yes, this is my legacy. I want to be remembered forever. I'm a champion at heart. This means everything." You said, "I just want to keep playing good golf. It feels great. It's such a fun time."
Uh-huh.
Do you maintain that? How do you feel going into next year?
Yeah, I'm excited to get another crack at the tour next year. I feel like this year was hard and disappointing at times, and like some of my highlights were pretty special. Like two of my highest ever rated rounds both happened this year, but that almost made it harder to then like, oh, like what's wrong with me this next week when I'm
Yeah.
just like not shooting well. So to
Hmm.
to know that I still have it was a good feeling, but then to just see myself make so many silly mistakes and not put together complete tournaments was difficult. So definitely excited to go out there and hopefully hopefully perform a little better and yeah, test myself out there. I think it's fun to go out there and test yourself and push it as hard as you can, like push that envelope of your aggressiveness and skill level, and trying to learn from the mistakes and not get too caught up in them. I think all those pieces are what really brings me back, and I know that if it all clicks for me, I'm right there at the top, and I can take some more tournaments down, which definitely a goal for next year. It's been a while since I won one, so I want to get out
I
there and win.
know. I love it. I love it, man. It's honestly like, when you're out there taking them down, and now I can say, like, when Matty O's out there taking them down, like, it makes my heart sing, man. It's good to see the people that I've seen, like, put in the work and be out there and do the thing, take one down and have that moment. So, obviously rooting for you every time you go out there. But, one of the hardest things to do, though, is balance life and disc golf and the every single day of it. One thing you do, though, to, I think, help with that balance, help maybe check out and find some semblance of normality, is play video games. And that's something that I
Yeah.
enjoy, too. Last thing I kind of wanted to get you out of here, I've been asking people, like, the content corner, what have you been watching? What have you been playing? Have you been playing any good games lately? What's on the console right now?
Yeah, one of my favorites is called Hunt Showdown. It's a pretty obscure game, I guess. It's like a PvPvE kind of
Hmm.
extraction shooter, but it's like set in like 1900s Louisiana, so it's like old school weapons,
That's
and
awesome.
the intensity just gets like really high in that game when you're in a
Hmm.
fight. Like the sound engineering in the game is amazing, so like you can hear someone scare birds like a quarter mile away, and there's other people over there, and you kind of go hunt them down, and
Hmm.
that kind of thing. So that one's a ton of fun. And I just started playing a little bit of a new game that just came out, the finals. It's kind of like the opposite. It's still a shooter, but it's like set in the future and like really fast movement and fast
Mm.
guns and everything. So a little counterbalance, but I like that intensity that comes from like the first person shooter games. I feel like they're yeah, just really, yeah, just dynamic and
Hmm.
fun and challenging. And um, yeah, always more fun if you're playing with a couple buddies, that kind of thing. It's been
Exactly.
Jordan calls it the virtual living room. We can hang out with my buddy Will or Rob and play some games from however far away, which is super cool.
Ah, Will, dude, throwback. I haven't seen Will since we
Yeah,
went to freaking
Will.
Voodoo Fest down in 2018. That was good times, man. Dang.
Yeah,
I gotta tell Will I said hey.
will do.
Okay, I saw somebody post on your Instagram. When are you getting Baldur's Gate 3? I need to play co-op, dude. I've been loving it.
Co-op.
Any
I
interest? Have you heard about it?
Yeah, I think it actually just came out on Xbox like last week or something.
Hmm.
I did get it. I've heard a ton of good things. I haven't put in too many hours yet. It's like a pretty
Yeah.
convoluted little like system to try to learn like all the yeah, I never really got into Dungeons and Dragons or any D&D type games, so it's kind of all new to me, like,
Yeah. The
but
like
it
action
definitely seems
economy and the
interesting.
whole thing. Yeah.
Mhm. Seems cool though.
It's been super fun, honestly. I wish that I've been more productive than I have been over the off season, but that game has largely, been the reason for my lack of productivity. But it's been super
Uh-huh.
fun, honestly. You're gonna have a great time. It's like one of the all time, like, go into a cave on a rainy day and come out 9 hours later, like, oh, where was
No.
I? Yeah.
Where am I?
Um, yeah, exactly. So stoked for maybe some January showers for you to maybe dive into that a little
Okay.
bit harder.
Cool.
But James, really, thank you for your time. That's about all I had for the interview. I want to give you a chance, though, to say, whatever you want to the fans, the people out there rooting for you, any family, anyone out there. Floor is yours.
Yeah, I want to give a huge shout to MVP. They've been taking great care of me these last couple of years. Stoked to all the fans. MVP has some amazing fans. Y'all are really showing the love, and I'm stoked some of y'all got your hands on the Detour and the Gyropalooza box. I feel like everyone that I've seen say anything about them has been loving those. So stoked for everyone else to get to try that. And yeah, I hope everyone has a great time this winter with their any visits with family, anything like that for the holidays. Yeah, take care, guys.
Oh, man. Thank you so much, James. And, feelings mutual. I hope everyone out there has a nice, safe, relaxing as much as it can around family at times. Holiday season, and same to you, James. Enjoy your holidays. For all of you at home, that's all I have for this interview. If you would like interviews with all of your favorite professional disc golfers, make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel.